Once upon a time, in a sleepy little town, there was a gas station worker named Jake. He was used to the solitude of night shifts, where the only sounds were the clicking of the gas pumps and the occasional rustle of leaves outside. But tonight was different. Whispers of a murderer in a red t-shirt had spread like wildfire, sending shivers down the spines of the townsfolk. As Jake stocked the shelves, the fluorescent lights flickered ominously. The radio played softly in the background, but the news reports about the red t-shirt wearing killer made it hard to concentrate. He glanced at the clock. It was nearing midnight, and the gas station was eerily quiet. Just as he started to feel a sense of dread creeping in, the door swung open, and in walked an elderly woman, her face pale and drawn. "Have you heard about the killer?" she whispered, clutching her bag tightly. "They say he's been seen lurking around here. You should be careful, young man." Her eyes darted nervously around the store, as if she expected the murderer to leap from the shadows. Jake nodded, trying to brush off her fears, but the unsettling feeling in his stomach grew stronger. The woman purchased a pack of gum and hurried out, glancing over her shoulder. Moments later, a group of teenagers burst in, laughing loudly and joking about the killer. "Can you believe it?" one of them said, picking up a soda. "They say he wears a bright red t-shirt. How stupid can you be? I mean, who wears red when they're trying to hide?" The others laughed, but Jake couldn't help but feel their laughter was hollow. He rang up their purchases, and as they left, they continued to joke about the killer, their laughter fading into the night. Time dragged on, and Jake's nerves were on edge. Just then, a man in a worn-out jacket stumbled in, his face flushed with panic. "You have to help me," he gasped. "I just saw him. The guy in the red t-shirt. He was near the old mill." Jake's heart raced. The man rushed to the counter, grabbing a pack of cigarettes like it was a lifeline. "Everyone thinks it's just a joke, but it's real. I swear I saw him." He hurried out, leaving Jake feeling more isolated than ever. As the clock struck 1, the atmosphere turned even more sinister. A chilling wind blew through the open door, and the lights flickered again. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed outside, followed by the smell of smoke. Jake rushed to the window and gasped. There, in the dim light of the gas station, stood a figure in a bright red t-shirt, holding a flaming torch. He was grinning maniacally as he set fire to an abandoned car in the forecourt. Panic surged through Jake's veins as he realized this was the murderer everyone had been talking about. Instinct took over, and Jake bolted from the store, but the man in the red t-shirt noticed him. With a crazed look in his eyes, he dropped the torch and began to chase Jake around the gas station. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he sprinted between the pumps, desperately looking for a way to escape. The killer laughed, his voice echoing in the night. "You can't escape me. I'm always watching." As he closed in, Jake spotted the door to the storage room and dashed inside, slamming the door behind him. He leaned against it, breathless, listening to the footsteps approaching. "Where are you hiding?" the voice called out, slithering through the cracks. Jake held his breath, praying the man would lose interest. Just then, the door handle rattled violently. With a surge of adrenaline, Jake grabbed a nearby toolbox and braced himself. The door burst open, and the man in the red t-shirt lunged at him. But Jake swung the toolbox with all his might, striking the man and sending him tumbling back. Seizing the moment, Jake dashed past him, running for the exit. As he burst out into the night air, he could still hear the man's laughter echoing behind him. Jake ran until he reached the safety of the streetlights, glancing back to see the figure in red disappearing into the darkness, leaving behind the burning car and a haunting memory that would stay with him forever. Jake stumbled onto the main road, his heart pounding fiercely in his chest. The night air felt electric, charged with the remnants of fear from his encounter. He couldn't shake the image of the man in the red t-shirt from his mind, nor could he forget the chilling laughter that still echoed in his ears. Desperate to find help, he spotted a diner just down the road, its neon sign flickering like a beacon in the dark. He sprinted towards it, pushing through the door and gasping for breath. The diner was nearly empty, with only a few late-night patrons scattered at the counter. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, noticed his distress and rushed over. "Are you okay, Han?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "No, I'm not okay," Jake exclaimed, his voice shaking. "There's a murderer in a red t-shirt. He was just at the gas station, and he set a car on fire." The few patrons turned their heads, their expressions a mix of disbelief and fear. The waitress raised an eyebrow, trying to gauge his seriousness. "You sure about that? The news has been saying it's just rumors." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. "It's not a rumor. I saw him. He was chasing me." Just then, the door swung open, and a tall man in a red t-shirt walked in, his presence instantly freezing the air in the diner. Jake's heart dropped. It was him. The laughter echoed in his mind again, and he felt the walls closing in. "Hey, buddy," the man called out, his voice dripping with mockery. "I've been looking for you." Panic surged through Jake as he turned to run, but the waitress stepped in front of him, confusion in her eyes. "What's going on?" The man in the red t-shirt grinned, his eyes gleaming with madness. "Just a little game of cat and mouse. I just wanted to have some fun." Before anyone could react, Jake pushed past the waitress and bolted for the back exit. He could hear the man's footsteps pounding behind him, his laughter echoing in the small space. He burst through the kitchen door, sending pots and pans clattering to the floor as he sprinted through the narrow aisles. "Where are you going?" the man taunted, his voice getting closer. "You can't hide from me." Jake threw open the back door and stumbled into the alley, the cool air hitting his face like a slap. He glanced back to see the man following him, his red t-shirt a vivid flash in the dim light. Jake dashed down the alley, desperate to put distance between them. He reached a dead end, the brick wall towering in front of him, and his heart sank. There was nowhere to go. He turned to face his pursuer, his breath coming out in ragged gasps. The man in the red t-shirt stopped a few feet away, a smug smile on his face. "Looks like you're trapped, buddy. What's it going to be? A little game of hide and seek?" Jake's mind raced. He needed to think fast. He spotted a pile of wooden crates stacked in the corner of the alley. Without hesitation, he climbed up as quickly as he could, hoping to gain some height to escape. The man laughed, his eyes glinting with amusement. "You think you can get away that easily?" As Jake reached the top of the crates, he realized he was now on the roof of a small building. The man below was pacing, clearly frustrated. "You're only delaying the inevitable." Jake took a moment to catch his breath and assess his surroundings. To his left, he noticed a narrow ledge that seemed to connect to another building. It was a risky move, but it was his only chance. "Hey, up there!" the man shouted, his voice shrill with anger. "I'll get you. Just wait." With a determined leap, Jake jumped onto the ledge, gripping the edge tightly. He could hear the man's footsteps pounding below as he rushed to follow. Jake scrambled across the narrow ledge, praying that it would hold. He reached the next building and managed to pull himself up, gasping for breath. Looking back, he saw the man in the red t-shirt struggling to climb up. "You can't run forever," he shouted, his voice filled with rage. But Jake wasn't going to let fear paralyze him. He took off across the rooftop, leaping from one building to the next, adrenaline fueling his every move. He could hear the man behind him, his angry shouts growing fainter as Jake gained distance. Finally, he spotted a fire escape at the end of the rooftop. He dashed towards it, climbing down,